First of all, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy schedules to participate in this webinar. We've had some very, very good feedback over the years. Part of the feedback we've gotten, though, I think you'll probably can relate to, is that Howard gives a lot of very, very good and detailed information. And so it's amazing over the years how we've seen the same people register multiple times to try to either get more in-depth knowledge or to better understand some of the concepts that Howard addresses in the webinar. So definitely feel free if it's something that you need additional time as far as seeing another session of the webinar. Feel free to sign up for one of the other ones that we have a couple times a month. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jason Spangler. I'm the flooring division manager here at Wagner. I'm responsible for not only the Rapid RH side of things, but I'm also responsible for our small line of hand meters that we have for doing moisture testing of wood subfloors and finished wood products, or wood flooring products. I'm going to do some Q&A stuff here. If there's some questions that you have, please type them in and email them so that I have them in front of me, and I'll try to get to as many of them as possible. For the ones that I don't have a chance to get to, I will definitely address or send you back a response via email. And then if there's anything additional that you need to talk to me about, please don't hesitate to give us a call. That's one of the things that we really do enjoy, is having conversations to try to help people through their technical issues. My phone number is 800-634-9961, and it's extension 235. So without any further ado, one of the questions that we get a lot of is, I realize that it's very, it's necessary to go to 40% of a slab or 20% of a slab thickness, but how do I know how thick the slab is? So there's a few different answers to that. One is, yes, it is very critical to make sure you get to that as close as possible to that either 40% or 20% depth, depending on how the slab's drying. It's amazing, though, especially when you're talking about from a rehab situation or even a new construction situation, it's amazing once you have it in your head or in your brain that you need to know the thickness of the slab, and you're hypersensitive to it. When you go onto that job site and see things going on, there's a lot of times where there's telltale signs of thicknesses of the slab that you can see, you can measure, you can look at, that you never paid any attention to before, but it wasn't something you really had to concentrate on, or that you had to even think about. If you're looking at elevated decks, a lot of times you have penetrations, you have pipes, you have things that are going through there that are going from floor to floor. And so there will be usually a hole cut out where that penetration goes through. Usually the hole is bigger than the actual pipe. So you'll be able to see profile of the metal pan decking. You can look at thicknesses of the concrete, so forth and so on. Slab on grade, if you're looking at rehab, a lot of times they'll do some trenching, retrenching to move plumbing pipes, things like that. So if you're there early enough to see the trenching going on, obviously you can do some measurements at that point. Buildings that aren't having things like that done, a lot of times they'll have some kind of construction documents, whether they're old or something that is new. The general contractor on the job, asking questions from them. And at the end of the day, I have people that will actually drill smaller diameter holes, a couple of them, just for comparative purposes. And what they'll do is they'll drill all the way through the slab in a couple spots. Obviously, you need to be careful where you're drilling, be cognizant of where you're drilling, things of that nature. But what they'll do is once they drill, they'll take a piece of pliable wire and they'll make a J-hook out of it. They'll usually make the hook just a little bit bigger than the diameter of the hole, so when they push it down in the hole, it compresses the J-hook. So when they push it all the way down, the J-hook will spring out a little bit when it gets all the way through the bottom. You pull it up, you feel the resistance, take a Sharpie pin, mark it at the top surface of the concrete on the wire, pull it all the way out, and then you can see from your Sharpie mark to where the radius of the J-hook's at, get a pretty good idea where or how thick the slab is. That's definitely, again, you're not trying to make the slab into Swiss cheese, but it gives you a couple of comparative points to be able to look at to make some kind of reasonably intelligent decision on the thickness of the concrete. For those of you who do it a lot, and those of you who want to have a little bit more non-invasive accuracy than that, They do make a device that you can actually use on the surface of the concrete that works in conjunction with an iPad or some other type of device like that, that will give you a fairly reasonable assessment of how thick that slab is without having to do anything invasively in the slab. It technology-wise sounds cool, seems like it functions pretty well, but it's still, for most people, going to be out of the realm of reality, because it's still, last I had looked into it, it was over $2,500. So for some people, that's not something that they're going to be willing to do enough of that, or they don't do enough of it to justify that. So that's slab thickness, hole depth, things like that. Another question that we get a lot about is when it comes to pan decking, and as far as how you're supposed to calculate the thickness so that you can have an accurate drill depth, because you have some areas of the pan that will be very deep, some areas of the pan that will be very shallow. First of all, I have to tell anybody I talk to or anybody that I have email correspondence with that the ASTM standard is completely silent on that fact. So when it comes to pan decking, they're completely silent on it. So what we recommend is to try to do the best that you can to identify where the deepest sections of that slab are, and to drill based on those deepest sections. So if you have a 6-inch deep section and you're trying to go to 40%, because if you have concrete poured in a pan deck that's only drying from one side, you're looking at 2.4 inches. So then you need to identify where that trough is at. Now, I have some people that will take smaller diameter drill bits, and they'll actually try to find out, they'll drill a few holes and try to figure out where they're at in conjunction to that trough, and then measure appropriately off of that, because every trough is going to be on a specified center. I have some people that they actually have what I would say fairly inexpensive at the big box stores, metal detectors that work and look a lot like a stud finder that you would use to find a wood stud in a wall. Nice thing about them is they have a scan depth on them that's deep enough usually to pick up the high spots of the metal pan deck, but not so strong that it picks up the low spots of the metal pan deck. So you can actually go across and hit a high spot, mark it, move across, hit the high spot there, and know that your trough's in the middle of that. Downside to it is it's not absolute, because if you're dealing with rebar in there, if you're dealing with any other things that are in there, sometimes they will cause interference that won't give you an absolute reading on it. But for most people, that does work fairly well. So it looks like I don't have any other questions. With that being said, again, my name is Jason Spangler. Phone number is 800-634-9961, and my direct extension is 235. If you have any other questions or anything like that, give me a call directly, and we'll be more than happy to take care of you. Thanks, and have a great day.